So it is currently, I don't know what time, 3:31 p.m. in Vermont. Yes, I have no makeup on. It is what it is. I woke up, I had some pretty bad cramps. I have really bad cramps. And I realized I need to vlog more because I haven't been vlogging that much. Because I promised myself I would document my journey of everything I've gone through. I will say, as of late, it's been kind of hard to, like, I remind myself, like, I did a whole video on Mel Robbins's whole, I'm gonna close the window for a second because it's super bright. I was just looking outside because it was literally like raining and you can kind of see outside. That's the neighborhood, but it was like downpouring. But yeah, I did a whole video on Mel Robbins's thing where she says let them, and bro, this is hard. I'm gonna be honest, it's hard sometimes because, like, I swear to God, being hacked and stuff is such a bitch because, and to prove it, oh my God, if I was a tech person, and here's the thing, like, I don't even think, like, because I've tried to figure out and I wonder, is it like a kid in like Turkey or like Croatia or, you know, and no one takes you seriously in the government, like, at all. That's why I even wondered, I'm like, is it the government? And I know my shit is hacked because, like before, my IP addresses would be like all over the place. Like, apparently I'd be like, when all this stuff happened, I'd be in Florida, but then I'd be in apparently Jacksonville and Orlando, or I was in California, Alabama, New York, and so it's very weird. And like today, like, I'm trying to move, right? Like, I want to move from Vermont because I'm just like, I did it. Like, I've seen, excuse me, I just did a toot. I did it. I've seen kind of what it's like, you know, and what it's like living here. And, I kind of miss just, I don't know. Like, even when I was in Virginia, at least I had, like, I went downstairs. I will never live in an apartment complex ever again as long as I live. It's just, there's so many, if you're someone who's gone through bullying as an adult, like, you'll understand. And it's frustrating because they get like the 10, I'm trying to explain it the best I can to someone if you've never like looked up hacking or whatnot and cyberbullying and targeting. You won't understand what I'm talking about, but if you have, then you'll get it. But basically, it's like, imagine if you're on neighborhood watch and you go outside and I know this sounds, I swear to God, I know this sounds like I'm being paranoid, but I promise you I'm not. But it's like, imagine you go outside and then right when you go outside, people, like a bunch of cars will just come out of the woodwork. And this is a pretty sleepy town. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty quiet town. And, you know, people come out of the woodwork and like people zoom their car past you or their motorcycle, you know, really fast. And, you know, or they turn the corner, like they look like they're gonna come down towards you and they turn the corner and then they don't. It's kind of like that. But yeah, it would just be better, I think, for me and my mental health if I was closer to like things, or even like a beach. Like, I thought about it. I'm trying to figure out if I should move back to Florida. I considered, what is my dog doing? Hold on. I don't know. I hear my dog moving. Oh, she has a toy in her mouth. I've considered moving to like North Carolina. What else? North Carolina. Oh, it's pretty sunny outside now. God, it was so like you can kind of see outside. That's my view. And what else? Yeah, I've considered North Carolina. I just started considering Atlanta. I've never been there. I was trying to see what the demographics are because if you watch my other video, I also said that before you move somewhere, you want to like check it out and see what it's all about. 2 seconds because I have to see. Okay. So yeah, like, I'm kind of just trying to figure out, you know, the direction I should go in. And this is when you have to like lean on your faith a lot, you know, like you have to like, because this is where people go, oh, God is not real, that's all, you know, fluff. And it's like, honestly, I don't think that. I think that like I don't think it's fluff. I think a lot of what I've been through if like I was covered. I really do think I was covered and blessed by something greater than what we, and I don't need to see to believe. My faith, I've always been grounded in my faith, always. Like I never needed a miracle to know that God or whatever exists and all that. Even with the little money that I have, even being able to just get some income in is, I feel like, a blessing. Sometimes do I get hateful? I don't know, like, there's in Star Wars where they say fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. That's anger, to me, our emotions and our mind are so linked together, like in your body too. Like when you think of psychosomatic symptoms and, your mind literally, I think to me can dictate like certain outcomes or prognoses and trajectories of different diseases. That's just me. That's what I believe. Because what you feed your mind and the narrative that you tell yourself every day, I think that is what is going to ultimately determine whether you will fail or you will succeed in life. That's just me, because outlook and perspective to me is everything. But it is, I will say, man, some people really do test your patience and stuff, because I'm actively right now, like I have very little money in my bank account. and I try not to get sour about that, and I go, it is what it is. And I think when you have a calling or a mission on your life, right? Like, and I don't mean like in a religious sense, like I'm going to go on a mission trip to Kenya. No, I mean like when you feel like in your heart, you yourself, like you're meant for something. You may not know what that is, but you know that when people fight like racial injustices or social injustices, things like that, they often get scrutinized. Like I was thinking the other day how, Mahatma Gandhi, he was a lawyer, right, in India, and he got arrested. I've never been arrested. I'm just talking about in terms of reformation and, reform or whatnot. And, when you fight for like causes that mean a lot to you, you get, scrutinized, because you look at life and a majority of the people, if they could, people would choose the easy way out, right? Why do you think people commit crimes and do stuff like that? Because it's easier to take the shortcut, right? And I'm not saying I'm a saint. Like I've cheated on tests before, like in Spanish class, or like in high school, we all did. Like literally the whole class got together. Our teacher, he was kind of weird though, I'm not gonna lie. He was a little perverse. So, but like, I'm not saying I'm all that saintly, but I really do strive to lead a moral life. So I think the juxtaposition of having to like cope through hacking and people cyberbullying, because I know I'm 100% now, like I scroll through my IG and I'm like, dude, someone is really fucking with my stuff. Like I literally, I'm applying, like I'm on this website and I'm looking for apartment rentals, and it's a great website. I've mentioned it before on my other vlogs, but basically like it's like short-term rentals, whatnot, and my inbox, I basically sent, like, I was up till like almost 4 or 5 in the morning last night, or today, I guess you can say, and I got up, it was like 3 p.m., right? So I sent a bunch of messages, like inquiries to the landlords or whatever, and then I basically, it was weird. So I get, anytime someone writes me, like a landlord writes me, I get notified of it, right? Like I get sent like oh, you've received a message, whatever. I go onto the app, and some of the messages, like I went to unread, and there was only 2 that were unread when it should be like 6 or 7 or 8, because I get the notification via email. So I go, oh, someone's getting into my accounts. So these people don't mess around. And my biggest thing is why law enforcement, and because I've reached out to law enforcement, they can't really do anything. I've reached out to Apple. I've gotten like so many phones at this point. It's ridiculous. I should have like a phone collection. Well, I have one phone that was on my parents' contract that I don't use anymore. Just because I also, as an adult, I didn't want to be on their contract because I'm an adult, right? So that was with AT&T, but I don't use it for anymore. And then I have this phone, the one that I'm currently recording on, which is under my own, which is a great, by the way, let me put a plug for Visible. Visible is a great service, except when I went to Canada and I lost cell service. But when I thought I was supposed to have it, I went to Montreal for like a day, and I lost cell service completely. That was very scary. I was completely in the dark. And yeah, I literally drove back from Canada to Vermont, which is like an hour distance, with no cell service, in a rental car. Everything was in French. And I only know a little bit. I like to say, j'ai parlé et comprends un petit peu de français. That's it, which is I understand and speak a little French. And yeah, so I don't know how to say I'm learning French. J'ai appris something français. I don't know. I don't plan on going to Paris anytime soon, but you know. Anyways, I've always liked the French culture and language and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's interesting. So I've been trying, but yeah, I've been trying to like figure out how to not let it get to me, because man, these people, like, so something that the people who bully me, they basically, stuff about autism, and I don't really look up anything about autism, but stuff about autism comes up. Bipolar disorder, I've never been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is a mood disorder, which, if you don't know, is MDD, which is major depressive disorder. I dealt with depression, I dealt with anxiety, I dealt with PTSD, I was on medication for that, but no, I was never diagnosed with bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, nothing of that sort. But stuff like that comes up. What else would come up? Yeah, just weird stuff. And it's just amazing how, like, people turn a blind eye to it. I'm also a card reader, so what's weird, what makes it difficult is that, like, I can read energy. If you don't know what card reading is, it's called divination, but I like to think of it as like intuitive guidance. So I like to think that I am very tapped into my own energy non-physically, if that makes sense. And if you don't believe in physical like non-physical or psychic phenomena, the CIA actually did a whole thing called like, there's remote viewers. So if you think, oh no, that's not true, there's no such thing as psychics, no, there are. They're called third eye spies and psychic spies. And sometimes I wonder if I was played an immense joke on and I was being studied for a remote psychic viewing program. But that's a whole nother discussion for another day. And I don't know why anyone, would pop out of the woodwork and say, hey, by the way, this is what happened. But there is actually a program. So if you're someone that's, oh, I don't believe in psychics, that's all stupid and stuff, whatever, because I have my cards down here. I literally have my whole deck of cards and stuff. Go look into it. And if the CIA had a whole program about it, or we're studying it, then that means that there's viability in it, or validity, right? If something is viable, that means it's something that is believed to be true or credible. So, yeah. So don't get me on like, oh, psychic stuff is whatever. There's literally a whole show, Teresa Caputo, which I was super into, Long Island Medium. I loved her show. I don't watch it anymore, but she's a psychic. There's Matthew Frazier, Tyler Henry. He's a psychic. Well, he talks to dead people. I don't like to say dead people. Dead people sounds like they're dead. I don't believe, in my heart, which is going to sound really woo-woo, I don't believe we die. I believe, like, our physical body dies. But, like, so how do I explain this to someone that doesn't believe in stuff? Like, like when you walk into a room and, like, some people are extra sensitive to energy, right? And they even study, there's, like, this something called Kirlian photography. So basically, like, you can take a picture of someone's aura. So when you talk about someone's aura or energetic field, there's, it's alleged that there's, like, an electromagnetic field that radiates out from your body. And if you want me to get scientific, let's go there, right? Our heart is comprised of different fibers. Like, there's the sinoatrial, and forgive me because I haven't done anatomy in a while, there's the sinoatrial node, there's the bundle of His, there's Purkinje fibers that are in your heart, right? And there's like an electrical circuitry that goes on in your heart, right? So that's number one. Number two, your brain is also there. Like, your brain has neurons, and neurons are brain cells, essentially, like nerve cells. And so there's all this electrical conductivity going on in your brain, right? So that being said, if you think about it, the way a light bulb works, the way anything works, if you want to go into quantum physics or whatnot, you are like a receiver, a signal, right? Like you can receive stimuli and you can put out stimuli, right? That's why when you talk about vibrations and frequencies, like when you talk about radio frequencies, I do believe that our bodies are like radio frequencies, and people who are empaths like moi are very sensitive to these frequencies. So when you enter someone's space, someone's home, it's a little bit different when you're outside. That's why when you go outside in nature and you feel the sun on your skin and stuff like that, your energy, and if you want to get like to like atomic and subatomic particle level, like protons, neutrons, electrons, whatnot, that's more spread out, right? It's less dense and compact when you're outside. So you're not going to feel that vibration when you're, like, if you're in the presence of someone, let's say that's really evil, right? Like people, like, let's say they're in a courtroom, right? And they're a jury, you're on a jury for a high profile court case. You can feel, if you are an empath or super sensitive to energy, you can feel, I believe, the energy that permeates and radiates from that person. Let's say the defendant, the plaintiff, whatever. I don't know legal jargon too well, so forgive me on that. But you can feel that, right? Now, there are people who I believe who are not awakened to their, what's I call extrasensory perception, or ESP. So, which is psychic, metaphysical, otherworldly phenomenon, right? Because when you think about it, we live in a concrete world, right? This is a blanket, this is my foot, that's a lamp. But what is non-physical is that frequency that some people have the ability to tap into, and that's what I believe. I do have that ability. Some people, I think, you can say, I do believe we're all are psychic to an extent. I believe that this is trainable, but you have to have people who, there's also this idea of your pineal gland, which produces DMT, which they talk about calcification of the pineal gland. It exists really in, I don't know if it's the hindbrain or the forebrain, the midbrain, but it's like deep within the recesses of your brain. It's like this little teeny tiny bean, but it governs a lot. And I do believe that plays an essential role in that. And to some people, that is not, you can get into the spiritual aspects of it, but a lot of people, I think, when you talk about closed-minded people, like, not to be mean, like racists or whatever, or people who are prejudiced, their heart, their spiritual heart is closed and their mind is closed. Because I do believe we have an etheric body and we have an auric body, and those are the people who are sensitive to energy and stuff. They can feel that, like I can feel that, and it makes it really hard when, for instance, I know I'm going through stuff, right? Like I know that someone is purposely and intentionally trying to harbor ill intent towards me by XYZ to my accounts, whatever. I've been living through this for 4 years now. And the sad part about it is that I know it's there. I don't have some of the tangible concrete proof. Yeah, I've screenshotted stuff and whatnot, but to be an empath and kind of intuitive and whatnot, and people are side swiping stuff, I guess that's the best way to say it. It's hard. It makes it really hard. And then to kind of try to hone in and subdue and ground yourself in your emotions when you know that someone's purposely trying to provoke or trigger you and your dog or family or whatever, it makes it hard, and when people are evil, they have no semblance of integrity or no sense of remorse. And that's what sociopathy is. When people lack remorse or they're apathetic instead of empathetic, that's when you're dealing with people like psychopathy and sociopathy. And yes, I did study psychology. So, I have my master's in developmental psychology and my undergrad in sociology, and I am a certified child life specialist by trade. I kind of wonder if sometimes I should have gone the route of studying to be a psychologist, but I feel like my heart is so big that I would take on the problems of the people I'd be dealing with, and then if they would, I literally, now, I'm doing, I guess you can call remote work. It's in the SW industry. I'm not ashamed of it. I've already came to terms with that. If you don't know what SW is, look up SW work. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but yeah, and even that, my heart extends out to people who I realize are like energy vampires, and they'll take my energy and siphon it, like, you know, it's just, yeah. So it's a little frustrating. It's like when you know that people are being deceitful or devious and dishonest, the triple D, deceitful, devious, and dishonest. I'm gonna write that down. That's actually a good, you know, thing to remember. But I can't. And I'm talking down to the level of law enforcement too, because these police officers, bro, like, you know, you think people uphold the law. My dog right now. This is my doggy right now. She's a little ham. Are you psychic too, baby? I don't know. She's a little ham. But yeah, it makes it hard. It makes it really hard because you know that stuff is going on, but people are, you know, they play games and they cover it up. There's something called psychological warfare. There's spiritual warfare. This shit is real. Like, if you don't think it's real, bro, like, it's real. And men, and a lot of the people are doing it, they're not women, they're men. So you wonder if there's like some, you know, male chauvinism, you know, going on, and it's very strange. But I am trying to cope with it as best as I can and cope through it as best as I can. I feel like the trolling and the bullying has kind of almost, what's the word? Not expedited or not exacerbated, but like, or initiated or kind of awakened even that part of my brain that is able to sense non-physical phenomena. Maybe as a byproduct of it, but it's just, it is frustrating when you, especially when you know that there's people who are not kind and they're corrupting people who are innocent, like me, you know. And maybe it's even for the fact. Some people just pick on people because they're like, oh, I don't like, you know. I will say my story is unique, and it all did start, my dog is giving me the side eye right now. I'm gonna sit like this because I think she wants me to, hello, okay, thank you. What, are you playing with your antler? She has, this is her favorite toy, which is her antler. I got this for her on Amazon. Like, it's super whittled down, but she loves it. It was like $40. It was huge. And now it's tiny. And then this is her other toy. Stop. Let me show the toy. This is her other toy. It looks, oh my God, look at this. But I love BarkBox. This is why I love BarkBox. They give such high quality, good toys. Here. Giggle. So it is, yeah, it's frustrating to say the least, because I'm somebody, not to say I'm lazy, I've kind of embraced sloth life. Can we call it that? Sloth life? Where basically I just like, you know, sometimes, oh, she's going to town on that thing. Sometimes I just like rest. I remind myself to rest. But I feel like if I don't make money and I don't have income, then I can't afford to just be a sloth all day and like sit around. But then I also remind myself, give yourself grace, because I've been through so much shit. Like, when I say I've been through so much shit, I literally nearly almost lost my life multiple times because of different situations. Like, I really do think I've been poisoned, I've been drugged, I've been exposed to like copious amounts of different chemicals in different apartment settings. Don't even ask me, don't even get into that, because that's just, and so I've had to like constantly, I get knocked down and I have to get right back up again every single time. And none of this, if you say, oh, but like, I had one family member, legit, if I heard him say one more time again, that's why I stopped talking to them, but they would say, oh, but has anyone touched you? This one specific family member would say, has anyone touched you? And I'm like, no, but then I remember I talked to a therapist and a psychologist, and someone said that it doesn't matter. I don't know if it was a lawyer or a psychologist therapist, but they're like, it doesn't matter, because emotional distress like is a thing. And if I wanted to, I could have like a court case. I just don't know who I would, you know, I don't know how court case, I didn't go to law school. I don't know how, when you sue someone, like, I don't know how that works, but I'm pretty sure I have been, like, my devices have been tampered with and toyed with, and I do believe, and I'm sorry to say this, I'm very pro structure, law, order, authority. Like I'm not a rule breaker. I wonder if but ethically, if when it comes to rules, if someone's breaking the rules who is in a position of power and leadership, is it okay for the person that's being hurt or not the perpetrator, but the one that's being provoked? Is it justifiable in order for them to avenge themselves and defend themselves to break the rules because the person who's perpetrating that person or affecting them is also breaking the rules? I don't know. That's where ethics and morality comes into play, right? Like, when does breaking the rules become okay and lawful? Because I feel like people bent the rules immensely when it came to me and my situation in my life. Right, baby? I'm sorry, my doggies are so cute. You are so cute. I can't take it. That's another thing. I feel bad. Like, if I ever move somewhere, she was my ESA and my PSD dog for a long time. I went through a service called Petable, and another, was it Petable? It was PETTABLE, and then she also became a psychiatric service dog. Not, again, nothing super debilitating. It was PTSD and depression and anxiety, but like, put it this way, I had it so bad, like, I couldn't even leave the house, not out of fear, just I was tired, and then, like, I couldn't even work at certain places. Like, it wasn't fair. Like, my team members, like, when I lived in Philadelphia, it wasn't fair, to them that and I didn't show it. Like, when I was there, I was on my medication. I think I was on medication, I'm not sure. But I'm also very, like, tenacious and, like, diligent. Like, I might be sad, but then what fuels me to, like, keep going is, like, no, I seek justice. So that kind of acts like the catalyst to, like, set a fire under my butt, because I'm not going to sit around and be like, oh, woe is me. Like, there's only so much self-deprecation and self-pity I will engage in, because the other part of my personality is, like, I need to figure it the F out. F-A-F-O, that's F around and find out. I'm talking about figure it the F out, because that's how I am. Like, if there's something I don't know, I'm so relentless and ardent about figuring out what's behind it. And honestly, what I've ascertained is that a lot of what I went through it wasn't made up. I'm not delusional, I'm not delulu. I legit, if I had a good PI, I've kind of become my own detective. If I had my own PI and a good lawyer, we would shut some shit down. Like, some very corrupt shit would be shut down. This is the point, like, in my story where, like, I wish the Avengers were real, bro. Like, I swear to God, because some of the things I think that go on behind the scenes in this country are just, like, we would be shocked. Like, legitimately, we would be shocked. Maybe figuratively and literally, if you catch my drift. I'm not gonna go there with that either. But yeah, it's crazy, and it's hard as an empath or intuitive or person that's sensitive to stimuli anyways. Like, not stimuli like in terms of like a neurodivergent, even though I consider myself as having ADD because of the trauma I went through. But not I've never been diagnosed with autism or anything like that, and I don't sympathize for people. In fact, people who feel sorry for people on the spectrum or have neurodivergent brains or whatnot, they just think differently. Like, people, I think when people say, like, I saw a PSA for a girl with Down syndrome, and she's like, they're basically saying how people with Down syndrome are less than because they have a what would be considered a developmental deficit, right? And she's in the PSA, she's like, deal with it. She's like, you think whatever, deal with it. Because people underestimate people with special needs. I think they really do. People look at people with special needs as, like, weird, mentally retarded. And it's funny, half of those kids are much more awakened and aware than half of the adults that I worked with or dealt with on a daily basis. Like, I'm not kidding. And they're much kinder too, I think people with special needs value life more. They see life through a different lens, and other than a greedy white male chauvinist. I'm just being honest. That might sound really mean, but it's the truth. And I don't have time for greedy people. I don't have time for racists. I just don't. And I will curse. Like, I've had moments where on my phone, like, I'm vlogging this now, but I've had moments where I will record myself and I will purposely send, and it sounds crazy, I swear to God, and I told this to a therapist, they didn't really say anything about it was crazy, but I would literally I would record myself and then I would text myself through my phone number because I know that they could see it. So I wanted them to know that, like, I knew what they were doing, you know, because half of it, when you have cyber trolls or bullies and stuff, majority of it is someone bullies someone because they pick on them because they see that person is vulnerable and sensitive, and they know that that person won't fight back or won't talk back. So that's a big part of it. So as someone who's been bullied or victimized, if you will, I've learned to stand up for myself and not feel like sad about it, because the thing is, when you stand up for yourself, or let's say you identify or resonate with a special cause, like let's say you're an advocate for higher wages and employment, better labor laws, I don't know, equality for minorities, you know, whatever. You are going to get scrutinized and shunned by the majority. That's the way it goes, right? Because if social norms dictate that the majority wins, majority rules. That's what we've been taught and socialized to believe. So if you have a group of people who adopt a certain mentality, and that mentality is generalized amongst a large population, you're going to be at the behest of this very diminutive group of people, right? Or whatever it is. And they're going to, Bonnie, stop. They're going to contest your beliefs and your views, and you're going to be looked at as less than. So your fight will be a very arduous, taxing fight. And that's kind of what I've been going through, because I feel like I've been kind of advocating for myself as like a one-woman show, a one-man band, if you will. And when I move from city to city, and because trust me, and if you're like, well, why don't you tell law enforcement? I have, when I was in Virginia, I went to two distinct, separate precincts. And this is in DC. Was it DC? No, this was in Virginia. And one of them, I'll never forget, I got the nastiest looks from the two foremen, like the two people in the ground level receptionist area. And I was at wit's end, because I was like, unless they were very good actors, I don't know, but I literally went up and I said, hey, there's weird stuff, because I would have weird stuff happen in my apartments, to the point where I think maintenance men were going into my apartment without asking my permission, because when you put a work order, they have to review it and audit it or whatever. There was stuff in my apartments that would be rearranged. My dog, like I said, had cologne on her. I don't live with a man or whatever. I don't have a boyfriend. I didn't have one at the time. And the guy I was seeing at the time, which was like was like a casual buddy, if you will. A very casual friend. He didn't have access to my apartment. So I've had it where my dog's snout smelled of cologne. And I figured out, I'm pretty sure, who that was. But things like that, and it's meant to provoke you, it's meant to hurt you and scare you. But the thing is that I like to say, when you're covered by God, when you believe in something greater, and this is where people go, oh, but then why would God let these things happen to good people? Well, sometimes it's not so much, how do I put this, and how do I phrase this correctly so it doesn't sound like I'm being, what's the word, like overly altruistic, but or incredulous in any way, and gullible, right, or naive, but because it could make me sound ignorant in the way to say it. But sometimes God, the universe, whatever, what have you, will use your story of strife, plight, struggle, to show as a testament to what it means when you sit in the pocket of faith, right? When you don't give up, and you do believe in yourself, not just something greater, but yourself, your own inner resolve and strength, that could also be a symbol or beacon of hope for someone else, right? Because sometimes God uses your struggle, right? Your plight, your issues, your whatever, your story, as a testament to what can really happen if you put your faith over fear, right? And so, because you say, oh, then why do people get cancer? Why do whatever? There's a lot of growth that can happen through when people get sick through cancer. A lot of communities come together. Families that were once out of touch or lost touch come back together. You learn to appreciate things more and have more gratitude for little things because you face the mortality or finality of your life, right? So it's kind of like the same thing and say, oh, then why would people put you through this? No, I am that much more. I've always been very close to the spiritual world ever since I was like maybe at like 8, 9, 10 years old. I always knew that I was kind of different in that respect. So I never once doubted if I ever went through struggle or people were picking on me. I always say, okay, you know, because we're all a mirror of each other, right? So whenever a bully picks on me, I'm like, they're just unawakened, you know, they're either lost or unawakened, and they are shrouded with either contempt, guilt, fear. So that emotion to them acts as a catalyst for them to act out overtly towards you, the one that they victimize, and they try to provoke you and trigger you because they themselves feel inadequate. They're never going to get that deep. A bully's never going to get that deep and be like, oh, I need to do inner healing. They're never going to. They just bully. But in this lifetime, someone else may see my story and go, oh my God, she has the strength and resolve to go through all of that, and she's still kind, she's still nice, she still treats people with respect. That's what I want to be, you know what I mean? So I look at it like that, and I look at almost that is a miracle, because I'm pretty sure I've literally, when I say that I have survived many things, it's nothing short of a miracle. And that's why I have my quote that says miracles start to happen when you give as much energy to your dreams as you do to your fears, because what's going to happen is that opposition is going to see you, and they're going to try to put the roadblocks in your way, right? People are going to see you and they're going to be like, oh, you stand for justice, you stand for equality, you stand for non-discrimination and fairness and oh, we're going to go after that, right? Because there are people, now you can say, Ashley, oh, don't be so naive. There are really evil people out there. I concur. I agree. But I can see past, because I feel like I've lived many lives. If you want to get into reincarnation, we can. But I feel like I've lived many lives, so it doesn't faze me as much as what it would for another person. Because I know the underpinnings and the underbelly of why. I know the why behind the what, right? So go study psychology if you ever feel like you're being come up against. If you study psychology and you learn the habits and behaviors of people, you will become like rock solid. Like, I mean, I don't know, because some people don't have the propensity to be mentally tough. You know, I do think I am. Now I'm mentally tough. But if I told you half of the stuff that I think I've gone through in the past 4 years, when I tell you that I had a career, I was a healthcare professional, and I, you know, my whole life I feel like I've been lied to about certain things, and I'm not going to get too much into it. But I've grown a lot, you know, in the tragedy, in the adversity, I've grown immensely. And I'm literally like, I'm like a human lie detector now. Like, I can literally call anyone's bluff. You know, even if like they try to come towards me and they act civilly and they act kindly and respectfully, there's people who fake or feign affection for the sake of deceit. Like, there's people who will legitimately pretend to be, they favor you and are on your side, but really they're waiting to stab you in the back, you know? So in that token, I look at almost as the adversity as like this expedited, accelerated program into, you know, human growth and development, into not human growth, sorry, I take about character development, because I have grown a lot. And I now, when I say nobody can get, like, there are people, they try, but I'm still kind towards them, but I'm not going to be fooled or bamboozled by them, you know, because people will use that. People are lost, people are evil, you know. You talk about Hitler, you know, as a dictator, you talk about Stalin, Mussolini, you know, these authoritarian regimes, right, fascist regimes and whatnot. These people didn't give a lickety-split about the people that they were hurting, because they were so covered by greed and so engulfed and enmeshed in wanting total control, that they didn't care, that it was their way or the highway. And that's, what leads to a dictatorship, essentially. But that's getting on a grand global scale, right? But when you talk about like on a basic micro level of everyday living in society, you have to take small steps toward progress, and you have to, which is what I've been doing, and you can't give up, because that's exactly what the devil and other people want. They want you to be in a state of self-doubt. They want you to be in a state of guilt or shame or fear, so you can't move forward, right? And I will say this, if anything, I will leave it at that. The devil comes in all shapes and sizes. And when I say that, it could be your neighbor, it could be your boyfriend, it could be your parent, your lover. I consider myself kind of like like an unofficial exorcist, because I will cast out the demons in people's, like I will call people out in their shit, and I don't care. I've had people, like, and I don't mind saying this, I am on OnlyFans. I'm trying to do that. That industry in of itself, I think, is saturated with people operating out of hedonism and greed, right? How many, I've already been approached by different agencies where they want to, put people, and some people, if you don't know what OnlyFans is, let me enlighten you. It is a platform for content creators, and it's not necessarily pornographic content creators or in the adult industry. It's anybody. You can be a musician, you could be, I've thought of maybe doing psychic readings on there or whatnot, or spiritual readings. Actually, I've been toying with this idea, because I would love to do that. I would love to get in a position where I can help people, like help guide people to achieving enlightenment, or achieving optimal well-being. Because at the end of the day, you can be super rich but be super miserable. There are people who have amassed much success because they define success by capitalism and how much money they have in their bank account, but truly in their heart they're not happy. Like I can say truly, like, I only have almost $400 to $500 in my bank account. I'm not kidding. And you can say, oh, you're irresponsible with money. No, majority of it is debt that I've accrued because I couldn't work because I was so traumatized because of what I went through. And physically too, I got physically sick. Like legitimately, I was acquiring infections, viruses. I do think people try to get me sick on purpose. I do think people wished ill on me spiritually. So I think spiritual warfare is definitely a real thing. And I couldn't work. So because of that, I had to resign from positions and things like that. And so I went through my savings that I had from working as a waitress starting at 17 years old. And now I'm slowly trying to get back on my feet, but it's not easy, because bullies are, unawakened, lost souls are apathetic, and they will do anything to see you in bikini bottom. If you haven't watched my other videos, I consider bikini bottom to be rock bottom. I'm just trying to, it's a more lighthearted way of saying, like in the pits, So, yeah, but I've done what I can, and I will say that's why I say, when people who say, oh, they're super rich, you look at all the celebrities who they have huge followings, millions of people adore these people. They're like huge influencers. You look at the people that wait outside Taylor Swift's apartment or her house, and woman can't get a moment's rest, or of peace, or anybody, a celebrity athlete, like, but you might see them on the outside, they look like they have all these things, but they deal with everyday problems like you and me. Some of them get divorced, some of them have miscarriages, some of them, some of them are miserable. Look at Robin Williams. That guy was so freaking funny and a huge celebrity, and he committed suicide. Not everything that glitters is golden. So I always tell myself, I'd rather have very little and be happy than have a lot and be miserable and not be content. Because anyone could say, oh, I have $3 billion, whatever. What's that going to do for you? You can buy a Lamborghini, a Porsche, a Ferrari, a Range Rover, and you drive it a little bit and you're like, oh, this is nice. But then you become accustomed to it, because that car becomes your norm and it becomes habitual. And then what happens is you end up wanting more and more and more. It's never enough, right? I feel like maybe some celebrities, but they probably do. Some celebrities probably practice asceticism where they renounce, materials, or some people give, like, I think, who was it? Oh, it was K Dot. I call him K Dot. Kendrick Lamar. I read that he actually donates to arts programs, and I don't know if he said he rides a bike. No, that was Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler rides a bike, I think, and he has like a modest sized home. I think Matthew McConaughey is like that too. I think he like lived in an Airstream at one point. There are modest celebrities. Not all of them are jackasses and super self-absorbed and whatnot. But I do think that, like, when you talk about success and stuff, I measure success by emotional wealth. And what I mean by that is like having emotional currency and karma, right? Like, so when I wake up in the morning and I'm reminded, I'm like, okay, things might be really shitty right now, but I have God, I'm alive, that's enough. And then I make a waffle or I make pancakes because I have a little bit of money to buy a pancake mix, and I make pancakes and bacon, and then all is right in the world. There's nothing that chocolate chip pancakes can't fix. And I'm not saying to engage in gluttony and like stuff your face with food, and I don't do that. I don't turn to food or binge eat. I actually eat a little bit and then I save the rest and I put it in my fridge. But yeah, I think I find happiness in little things, and maybe that's why people are upset. I don't know. I don't know. But I am an optimist. I look on the bright side of life, and not like in a gullible, naive, ignorant way, but just in a I'm grateful way. And that's how I do it. And yeah, and if you could say, how do you stay so calm and happy? I'm just grateful. When you find gratitude is like one of the best things you can ever do. If you're someone and if you have gone through depression, you have gone through anxiety, they will tell you, people especially that practice CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy, what they will tell you is to focus, and this is true in law of attraction, you don't focus on what you lack, you focus on what you have. Because if you're focused on what you lack, you're going to attract that back, right? So if you're focused and say, oh, I don't have this and this, so what do? I go, okay, let me look and try to find what I can have. What can I do to generate income? And I remind myself, okay, I work with kids. I mean, I am kind of considering starting some sort of program to help parents parent their children or encourage parents to raise them to be socially competent and emotionally aware and emotionally resilient little beings, which would be really cool. I just don't know how to do it. I'm trying to figure it out, but I would love to do that. But then you also have to know marketing and social media and be business savvy, which I'm kind of not. I have the idea, but to execute the idea and see it to come to fruition is kind of difficult. But yeah, so if you are someone who have gone through depression or anxiety, I highly encourage you. I haven't been doing it, but I have my gratitude journal there. I encourage you to focus on things that bring you happiness and joy, even if it's like something really little, like what was it? I'm trying to think. I know something happened. Like, oh, I saw when I was walking Bonnie the other day. Oh, I didn't put that in my gratitude. I remember I was gonna write it down and I forgot. I saw the cutest little chipmunk. I wasn't walking Bonnie. This is when I was in Burlington. I saw the cutest. I've never seen a chipmunk before. Like when I'm talking Chip and Dale, like I saw a chipmunk, and I've seen one twice now. Also, I love, one thing is, I'm just trying to give examples of gratitude journaling. Like when I go outside, and now that it's like summertime, thank God, I see like these beautiful like yellow flowers. That's how I know God exists, because you can go through a bunch of tragedy and shit, and then still flowers will bloom, even through like weeds and dirt and like crappy stuff, even if it smells like horse feces, because sometimes it smells like horse manure when I step outside, and I don't know why. I don't own a horse, but it smells like horse manure sometimes I step outside this house. Another reason why I want to move. So little things like that, or like I made chicken franchise the other day, and it was so good. Like I put peas on it, and I'm like, holy shit, I can cook. Because I sucked at cooking. Or I'm trying to think of another thing. I forgot to write down the little chipmunk moment. Or like when I went to Burlington recently, and I got to have a creamy. If you've never had a creamy, so basically it's like super good soft serve ice cream. It is so, it's not like hard ice cream, it's soft serve ice cream, and they put these like chocolate non-pearly sprinkles on top. They're called Jimmy's, I guess, and it was so good. And the girl who put it together for me was super nice. I'm talking, she was super duper nice. So, and she had a little spoon attached to her pen, which I found funny. That made me smile. So it's little things like that. And if you're ever in a moment and you're like, and trust me, I should be depressed. Like if I tell you I don't talk to my family anymore, my rent is like $1,800, and I literally have like 492 something in my bank account when I used to have 100,000 saved. I'm not kidding. I had at least 90 something thousand dollars saved in my bank account. Which, by the way, always have a savings account. I never realized now why savings accounts are so important, because if I hadn't had my savings, I would have been broke a lot earlier and a lot sooner and quicker. But I like to say I may be broke, but I am rich in spirit. And when you are rich in spirit, you can't give up. It's really hard to knock someone down who is passionate and compassionate and kind and believes in things greater than themselves, because so things look bleak, but I do believe that if like, for instance, for me, like with certain jobs and stuff, I did wonder, am I like on a do not hire list? I swear to God, I was like, why am I not getting every job I applied to? And I have experience. It's not like I'm whatever. I have experience. I was getting no thank you, we're not whatever. And I go, you know what? Rejection and redirection is God's protection. So I don't fuck with that. But I tell myself, if you can't find it, create it. Create your own joy. Create the life you want. Even if people are doing it as a joke or prank, an experiment, if you will. I swear sometimes I'm like, I feel like people are just trying to test me to see what I'll do if I was under XYZ circumstances and nothing was going in my favor. And I go, it's cruel. That's a cruel fucking joke, let me tell you, if that's what all this was. But I am steadfast and resolute in my faith, and I have much resolve. So, I don't give up, and I do believe there are good souls and good humans out there, and like good Samaritans. So I remind myself of that, because I say, if I exist, then there surely are other people like me that exist. But people will, like, if someone, let's say I have people who troll me and they watch my YouTube channel, they'll be like, oh, she has two personalities. She's either a bitch, because I'm telling you, I have cursed people out so much through my phone, and I've gotten so freaking angry because the things that come up on my feeds, like on YouTube and Instagram, or they pick on me, like they love to call me like Wednesday Addams. Like I get a lot of references to Wednesday Addams, or like Black Swan. That's another reference a lot that comes up, that I'm an angry ballerina. What's that movie? There was a movie where they kidnapped this girl that I forgot what it was called. They were robbers or something, and they kidnapped this girl of this like really rich family or man or something, and they find out that she's like a flesh-eating vampire or whatever. That one comes up a lot. But yeah, so I take it in stride, and I know who I am, and I know what I stand for, and my character speaks for itself. So, but if you are someone who is struggling with mental health issues, I'm never one to say don't go to therapy, but I will be very honest and upfront and say that therapy, sometimes it's a listening ear. Sometimes it's just someone who just listens to you talk. Sometimes it is someone who gives you guidance and redirection, or advisement, socially, like, or how to go about, like a life coach, if you will. But be mindful about who you do partner up with, because I don't know, it depends on their methodology, their outlook on life and philosophy, and their own perspectives on politics, religion, what have you. So just be mindful of that. And also too, if you go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, don't forget, these people, they need, for insurance purposes, they do need like a diagnosis. They need like I think it's called an ICT. or ICD code. I forget what it's for insurance. They need to assign a certain code to have a diagnosis. So don't ever go to someone who will just diagnose you to diagnose you. Go with coach. And it's hard, I'll be honest, to find a good therapist who doesn't become a slave to the system. And what I mean by that is someone who's an independent thinker. Like I'll say this, I think, which is hard because they don't take insurance, naturopathic or homeopathic or more holistic people, like functional medicine people, I think are great because they take a holistic approach. And what I mean by that is they don't just consider the mood. They look at your blood work. They look at your like your thyroid panels, heavy metal toxicity, your like social environment. They take a lot of that into consideration because sometimes you may think, oh, you have a mental health thing or whatever, and you can actually have parasites. You can have a gut microbiome imbalance. You could have had meningitis. You can have hydrocephalus. You can have pandis. You can have an autoimmune disorder. I mean, there's so many things. So that's why I think you need to, like, especially if you're someone who has gone through mental health issues and it's not just situational like me. Like mine was, majority of my stuff, the reason why I went through anxiety and depression was because it was situational, because I was scared. I felt like I was being stalked, and I was seeing the same person over and over again in Miami, which scared the living daylights out of me. I was seeing, for some reason I didn't, and I should have taken pictures of it. I was seeing police cars, like legit tail me. I'm not kidding when I say this. Like I legit had I had black SUVs follow me home. I'm talking tinted windows, 11 o'clock p.m., shiny rims, weird stuff. So I just kind of, it was weird. It was weird. Weird helicopter activity at certain places I would go to. I'm like, is there something that I don't know about about me that I don't know? I've considered identity theft. Like I've considered that. I've considered people lying or trying to incriminate me in a crime that I never had a part of. I don't know, a lot of stuff. But what I've come down to is I go, I'm not a detective. I didn't go to forensic psychology school or whatever, or law school. I'm a civilian who, I do believe I was abused and wronged and slighted or exploited or whatever. But you carry on, you pull your bootstraps up, and there's a show, because I'm a musical theater nerd, I'm a theater kid, and there's a show called The Drowsy Chaperone, and there's a song where the main character, the drowsy chaperone, she sings this part where she says, we pull our bootstraps up and on and homeward turn, or onward and homeward turn, or whatever. So I always remind myself, like, whenever I feel down, I'm like, just pull your bootstraps up, bitch, and get through it, because I can't change people. You can't change people. I do believe there are people, like 50% of the humanity are soulless. They're lost. It's like imagine if you get a herd of sheep. You have a person speaking and they're going whatever, and if they're not independent if they're not independent thinkers, who are well-informed consumers who try to acquire information on both perspectives of whether it's politics, religion, whatever, and they don't remain objective, of course it's going to be like a herd of sheep. They're going to be like, bah, and they're going to follow whoever, whatever. So that's why I try to remain as objective as I can, and I strive not to be too like provincial or narrow-minded, if you will. So yeah, if you're someone that struggles with that, I do say therapy is good, but also check out, if I had the money, I would go to a functional medicine expert. I did have one, actually. He was really good too. I did it for like a week. I don't know if it was like a 7-day trial. It was called Quantify. And the guy knew his stuff too, and we were gonna do like a stool analysis and stuff, because he was convinced that I had parasites, which I probably do. I have a feeling I have like candida overgrowth. I did have antibodies for Lyme disease, so that's why I said look at the whole picture, because if you can target, like I wish medicine these days, you know, we're very, and I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but, you know, Western, you know, Eastern medicine is different from Western. In Western medicine, we're focused on curative, not preventative care. Curative meaning like you alleviate and you target the symptoms, but you don't look at the underlying cause of diseases and stuff. And, you know, so I'm more into like the preventative, which I used to be like, I used to take apple cider vinegar every morning, like a shot of it with lemon juice, and that's supposed to like suppress sugar cravings and regulate your pH levels and your blood sugar. Like when I talk about pH, I talk about when you're, you know, the level of acidity and alkalinity in your body. So that, but which I probably should get back to doing. I legit have I have like literally a whole jar, and it has this, so it has this enzyme. If you don't know, apple cider vinegar has this enzyme called pectin in it, and that's the stuff. I literally have it here, and it's been unopened for like, I don't know how long. This is the stuff. See that stuff at the bottom? That's what I'm talking about. I used to drink this religiously and I stopped. But it's really acidic though. Like, so you have to be careful with your teeth. But, and I used to take also diatomaceous earth, which is this stuff. It's supposed to get rid of pests in your yard, but it's food grade, and it has these, this cytoskeleton thing that basically scrapes the inside of your intestinal wall or intestinal tract. And it gets rid of all these heavy metals and toxins and stuff, which I might actually do. I haven't done that in a while. I used to be really into like functional medicine, like herbology and all that stuff, and I stopped because I had to survive everything that I've gone through. And I can't just, and also you probably say, oh, you should get a degree and like go back to school. Yeah, but that costs money, which I don't really have right now, which is why I'm doing OnlyFans. And you're like, well, don't sell your soul and use your body to make money. Well, I kind of do it differently. My stuff is very mild compared to like, I think what half of the people do on OnlyFans. And if you want to check it out, go check it out. It's Ashley Kate 33. There is a lot of sexy content, I will be honest. I'm in lingerie. And and also a little tidbit on that. I used to be very reserved and very modest. Like shy, like super shy, like to the point where I didn't want to, growing up, I would cover myself. I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. I would wrap my arms around my boobs like this, and I would run to the bathroom, like into the shower, because we had the bathroom sink part, and then we had the shower, and I'd run and I'd scurry, and I wouldn't want to look at myself in the mirror. So I had a lot of like, no, it wasn't body dysmorphia. I don't know, I was just shy. I was embarrassed to, you know, talk about sex, and now I'm like, I feel like I'm an unofficial sex therapist. So, you know, and yeah, and if maybe I can help people that way too. I started another YouTube channel where it was going to be to promote OnlyFans, but I want to kind of help men become divine masculines, not dick masculine. You know, because there's a lot of guys out there that are dicks, you know. And I think it's okay as a woman. I'm kind of like a pleasure activist now, because I think it's okay to want to have sex. I think it's, you know, I think, especially if, like, I grew up Catholic, and I then later identify as non-denominational Christian. And I think we are taught or indoctrinated to believe that sex is taboo, sex is bad. Granted, we do live in a really hypersexualized society, right? Because sex sells, right? Porn is a huge industry, right? Or corn. I like to call it corn. And it sells, right? Because, you know, a sexy body, like, who doesn't want to look at a man with, like, you know, that's why Abercrombie and Fitch did so well, because they had models that were like Adonises, and, you know, the women were Aphrodites. So, you know. But I have learned to kind of come into my own, and it's fun to wear lingerie, and I don't know, it's fun. And if people want to say that I'm sinning and I'm a bad Christian or like a bad teacher, you know the movie with Cameron Diaz called Bad Teacher? Like, I could picture people being like, oh, she's a bad child life specialist because she's like, you know, talking about all this stuff, and that's pleasure. God did not create sex to not be pleasurable. It's meant to be pleasurable. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having babies. So, yeah. Anyways, I don't want to get too much in a tangent, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and I didn't mean for my vlog to be this long, but it is, and maybe my words will help somebody. There's that quote that I love, that by Morgan Harper Nichols, that I've mentioned like numerous times, where she said, and I have it as my background. She says, hold on, I'm going to find it. Where is it? What is this? Oh, sorry, I'm just looking at my Excel spreadsheet for, I have a King of the Week OnlyFans page. No, it's King of the Page. A tracker to like, because I track who's like the most loyal fan, I guess you could say. Not just in terms of money spent, but like their engagement with me, like on my page. But there's a quote. I'm just gonna put this down really quickly. I'm sorry if I'm gonna cover it since this is YouTube. I want to be appropriate. It's not a place to show my crotch. Yes, I am in my pajamas and it's 4 o'clock. I have cramps, and yeah, I'm kind of tired. But there's a quote, Morgan Harper Nichols. I love her. She's a wonderful poet. She says, and she let your story be the story of the mountains you climbed. I think it's right. Oh no, it says. Hold on, I just don't want to quote it. It's just okay. This is what it says. Tell the story of the mountains you climbed. Your words could become a page in someone else's survival guide. And that's kind of something that's what kind of encouraged me actually to like start a YouTube channel, because I'm like, and I'm not expecting, I literally have like 60 something followers and that's a lot to me. For me, there's people who have like 1 million. I'm like, sweet Jesus, I'm like, 1 million people, that's a lot of people. But I look at it like, if I could help one person, then I'm good. Sometimes God wants you to help a large majority of people, but to me, I'm like, if I could help one person, then it's good. But it does say, tell the story of the mountain you climbed. Your words could become a page in someone else's survival guide. And then the other quote that kind of helped me, Daniel Koch Balfour. I always say her name wrong. This is good. She has another quote. This is the quote. And this was on the first, so I had Daniel Koch Balfour. She's a content creator as well, and she's like a graphic artist, and she does like this Good Samaritan social justice, like fun, cute, quirky things like visuals or whatnot, or infographics. And one of the quotes that I remember seeing is this one, and this is what kind of has always kept me going. And this is maybe you're meant to hear this. I don't know, whoever you are, but it says, she says, you were created to do good work that empowers and inspires, liberates and transforms, restores and softens. Yes, work can be hard, as it was meant to be. The verb itself calls us into action, rejecting passivity and demanding sustained effort. It provokes, agitates, and disturbs. But this work, the call for justice, is good work. It defends the oppressed and frees the captive. It tears down walls and destroys barriers. It changes things. So when you're feeling weary or hopeless or spent, remind yourself that the darkness is being flooded by marvelous light. Yes, this is work, and it is good. And that's in her. This is actually the book that it looks like. That's the journal from Target, and I got that years ago. I don't have it anymore. I think I got it again. I got it a second time. And yeah, and I think her words have helped a lot of people. So yeah. So that being said, if you're somebody who's struggling, like I said, and you feel like all hope, and I don't know every people's story, we're all going through something, but sometimes it's not so much, things don't happen overnight, right? It's invisible progress, and it's not easy standing up for what's right, because oftentimes you will stand alone, because like I said, majority of the people, when push comes to shove, they're going to choose the easy way out. They're going to choose to take the bribe. They're going to choose to talk shit about you, because it's easier to talk shit about somebody and it makes them feel better, versus you being like, yeah, I'm going to stand up for what's right and what's fair. Also too, though, I will say this, because you know where they have the let them theory and whatnot. That doesn't mean, letting them doesn't mean that you're a doormat. Letting them doesn't mean that you tolerate abuse. It means that you stand in your power, you don't get triggered, you don't get provoked. But if someone does pick on you, this is what I tell myself. Remember this. One of the few Bible stories that I know is that Jesus went into the temples and he turned over the tables because they were using his the church or his father's home as the house of worship as a place for like taxes or something, or tax collecting and whatnot, and money transactions. And I remember I was like, damn, you know, you hear the story, he went in and he literally flipped tables over, like dude was angry. So I kind of look at it that way. Whenever I feel like if someone is abusing me psychologically or emotionally, I have every right to stand up for myself against that. And so should you. Because at the end of the day, as a human, you matter. And people, I think, that are in power or that have a lot of money, they think that they have dominion over another person, and they feel better exercising that dominion over you. So I encourage you that if you're someone like, you know, if you have been abused, and there's so many forms of abuse, there's narcissistic abuse, there's domestic abuse, like domestic violence, there's physical abuse, there's workplace abuse, there's workplace harassment, you know. Don't let yourself be a victim of that, you know. And you could say, oh, let them, but there comes a point where you say, not today. That's why I used to have a sticker that says, not today, Satan. And it used to be on my computer. I say, not today, Satan, not today, or any other day for that matter. Peace.